All right, as most of you know, my name's Craig.
And I'm Chandra.
And this is Our Alaska. In this episode, we're going to answer some frequently asked questions and try and give you a little bit of background on who we are, how we came to be in Alaska, and just some general information. We're usually not too big on like FAQs, but there's been so many questions that it's hard to just answer everything. So we're just going to do one. It's going to be out of the way, and that's going to be the end of it. So if you got any more questions, it's too late. You had your chance.
No, I'll still try to answer them in the comments and replies section down at the bottom, but this is just a lot of the ones that are asked over and over again. Yeah. So well, I mean, as far as the background, Craig and I got together in 7th grade, got married when I was 18.
Yeah, it was a year after your graduation. We got 2 boys, 2 grandkids, Ryder and Journey. They live in Ohio yet. Chris, that's a big one there. I mean, that's going to be in the FAQ, I suppose.
Yeah.
We'll finish up our background.
Touch on him later.
Yeah, we lived, I'm originally from South Florida, and we had moved to Ohio. That's how I met her.
Yeah, but I've lived in Ohio my whole life, same school, K through 12, and
yeah, we kind of moved around a bit. We lived in Ohio for a bit. We went down to Florida and stayed for about a year. Went back to Ohio, and I don't know, Alaska was kind of on our radar to a degree, but not seriously. It's kind of that place you hear about, and you're like, that's like another country.
Yeah.
And
who's really going to go to Alaska? It's so far away.
And we did a little research, and I think the catalyst was, I don't know, I mean, your dad.
Yeah, I mean, we had already decided, I do nursing, and we was going to take a travel contract up in Fairbanks. But my dad got sick at the same time, and he ended up on hospice, and we just kind of put the Alaska in the back burner, right? But then, you know, we never gave up on that, and after we lost him,
it was kind of just like, you know,
perfect time to go.
Let's just make a
fresh start and just do it.
And we were just going to come up and for what?
A year.
Maybe a year, just work and just kind of just as a fun.
Just an adventure. We had no intentions of staying long term. But...
And then we come up and we actually stayed on the homestead of a pretty well-known TV show we found out called Alaska: The Last Frontier, the Kilcher family. We ended up, by chance, we rented a place and it turned out to be one of their cabins on their homestead. So we were out there for 2 weeks until we rented a little yurt, which I'm going to put on the screen somewhere. A little yurt, and we stayed there for the winter. Yep. And rented a couple houses over the next...
It's very difficult to find rentals in Homer because it's a tourist town. So during the summer, everything turns into Airbnbs. Yeah. And they kick everybody out. So all you can do is do like a winter rental, and then you hope and pray that you find something during the summer, or a lot of people spend the summer on the spit in a tent. Yeah. But so we did a lot of moving when we first arrived.
Then in the process, we ended up just falling in love with Alaska, and we kind of looked at each other and like, you know, I don't even really care to go back. No. So that's when we got really serious, and we had a longer term rental. We finished out that lease that we had, or agreement we had, and moved into a temporary housing again to save more money. And then COVID was actually just about to ramp up, and we found a really nice log cabin, which I'll show a picture of somewhere in there. And we was able to buy it for a reasonable price. And over the next 2 years, so this, a lot of people may have think that maybe this was our first trip to Alaska, but it wasn't. So that's why we're giving you the background. So we fixed up that cabin over the next 2 years, decided that, a 30-year mortgage was just...
too looming over our heads. 30 years at over $1,500 a month. Oh my goodness, no, that's just too much.
So, and we had moved north because we were in Homer. I guess we didn't say that. We were down in Homer, and between Homer and Anchor Point. So we moved about 2 hours north to Sterling where we bought our cabin. So we ended up selling that and paying off some of our debt. And we'd had the thought of maybe going back to Ohio because, you know, we're missing things with family. We had the 2 grandkids we weren't really seeing. So we're like, well, maybe we'll go back and find us a fixer-upper house, buy a property in Alaska, and go do both. Well, we got to Ohio.
And this is October of 2022, just to give you a timeline. Yeah. So we sold our house in Sterling, came back down to Ohio. I don't get to see my grandkids enough, but then we decided no. Too much going on down here.
I feel like it's so hectic, and we kind of forgot, I guess, being up there, because we were up there for 4 years before we... it was 5 years. 5 years before we left. It was 5 years. We were there for 5 years. And we get down there, and it's so hectic, and I don't know. The people were... and it's not on. It's not a broad. It's a kind of a broad blanket statement to say everybody's rude, but they seem so much more rude and hurried than the people in Alaska. And we looked at some houses. We even made a couple offers, and thankfully, it just wasn't really meant to be. The offers were turned down, and we looked at each other and like, you know what? It's time to go back home. So we stayed in Ohio for maybe 6 months.
Not quite
6 months.
But yeah, while we were in Ohio, that's when we found the property. Yeah. We just kept looking on Zillow and
everywhere.
realestate.com. Yeah. I mean, every online site you can think of. And lucked into
that property.
Those properties. Found it on Zillow, just over 3 acres.
Yeah. And typically we wouldn't recommend you buy sight unseen, especially in Alaska, because you can be either landlocked, where you don't have any road access, or it could be marshy. But we had been, we lived in that area for, in Anchor Point area for a year, we mostly in Homer, but in Anchor Point too. So we kind of had an idea of what that area was like. And it's so competitive to buy land there. So and her criteria was, what was your list?
We had to be close to the water.
Close to the water. And we're right across the street of the bluff and the ocean, the inlet there.
Yeah, if we could walk straight across,
you can smell
a quarter of a mile maybe. Yeah, you can smell the salt in the air. Absolutely love it.
And the beach access is just about a mile from our house. We take the side-by-side down. But anyhow, we ended up making an offer on that property. And no one ever wants to talk numbers. But you know what? We're going to talk numbers because that's what everybody really wants to know. You want to know, how much did you pay? How'd you get your money? Because I was like, how'd you buy that? Well,
it's all online. Anybody can look it up if you really want to. You know our names. You know where it's at.
But when we sold, and I'll be honest, we bought that cabin in Sterling for $242,000. Yeah. We spent 2 years fixing it up because it needed some work. And we stuck it online, sold it within 15 minutes for $375,000. So that left us $120-some thousand to pay off, some other debt, and then we were able to buy our property. So that's how we bought our property. We're not wealthy people by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, it was $50,000.
Yeah, it was $50,000 for our property.
That included the 3+ acres. Yeah. It included the driveway and the building pad.
Yeah, so that was all in on that. Now, there is a power pole, because that was questions at some point, but there was a power pole on the property with a transformer, but it's so far up, it's really out of our budget to try to tap into that.
It's going to be $20,000 or $30,000
it's not, so we really wanted to be solar anyway, so, and I'm kind of getting off track, I know this is more FAQ stuff, but anyhow, but that's what led us, so, we've been in Alaska already for 5 years, and we, went down there for about 5.5 months, I think, or 5 months it was, bought the property, sight unseen. I looked at Google Earth. And I looked at some topography maps too, which is really good. It's a good thing to check because it kind of shows you how high or low the land might be. And so we did that before making our offer. And then after that, it was just more planning because we had left a storage unit at her mom's place the 5 years prior when we left, just thinking we was going to come back. So we cleaned that all out, loaded up a big trailer, and then drove back in,
April.
The end of April.
Yeah.
And then some of you have seen that video of when we drove up to the property and it was a lot more snow. And I mean, it's not a lot of snow compared to how much Alaska gets.
No, but it was more than I was expecting.
More than we were expecting that would still be on the ground at that point because we were familiar
the drive down, it was
and we were familiar with the area, but they just had more snow dump that year than previous years. So that caught us off guard a little bit. But we're also going to do probably a video and do a big compilation of all the previous building footage and stuff because we did a pretty poor job.
Well, we had no intentions of doing YouTube.
And everybody says that, and it's cliche, but that's true.
Go back and look at the first few videos. You can see it definitely was not intended to be a YouTube thing. It was just some recordings for family, just to send it back to my son and his mom, and just for family to see.
So we're going to try to do a big compilation and try to make them a little bit better and put everything together and make it because some of them got dinged for copyright infringement on some songs we didn't understand. So some of the earlier videos are really messed up now because it took out big chunks of audio. Some people have complained about that now and about microphones, which we're working on. But I think that kind of covers most of our background as far as, we just feel like Alaska is home. And people say that you're either love it or hate it. There's really no middle of the road. No. And you feel that pull. And when we leave, you do feel that pull, and it's like Alaska calls you back, and it's just that thing. It's a different feel to it. It's so different than the lower 48, and it is kind of like another country.
It's like going back in time or something.
To a degree,
everything's so much slower, and people are friendlier and more helpful. And I mean, if you need wood, someone's gonna bring you wood. If you break down, no one's gonna leave you stranded alongside the road. It's a different thing.
Yeah, I kind of, when we got back to Ohio, we're driving, I wave at people and somebody flipped me off, and I'm like, wow, thank you. Yeah. But it's just, people in Alaska are just different. They're just a nicer bunch of people, and then it's not like that's not a blanket thing, because there's nice people everywhere. They're willing to help you. But from where we've been around. She did travel nursing before we ever moved to Alaska, and we'd been around different places. So I mean, we've seen a lot of different cities and different things and how things are. And for us, it's not for everybody, but for us, it just fits what we want out of life, And it's just.
And sometimes it's hard. I mean, like you said, the family thing is probably the biggest thing, because
you miss out.
It's so far. I mean, it's not just hop in the car and drive a few hours to see anybody.
Yeah,
it's a whole
miles.
thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a 10-hour flight, multiple flights, and it's
almost a week drive.
And it's expensive.
So.
It's expensive.
Yeah, we figured out our move when we went back with all our stuff. This just last time we bought our property, we figured out our expenses and for because Chris drove too. So
we had three vehicles, two trailers. How many times did we stay in the hotel?
We tried to keep it minimal.
3 times in a hotel.
I think it was 3 hotels.
I think it was 3 hotel stays. The other times we just slept in the truck.
We were just trying to keep the hammer down and.
But it was almost $4,500.
And that was us being very conservative.
Yeah.
So it's not a super cheap thing just to make trips, from Alaska down to Ohio. Like I said, it's 3 or 4,200 miles to go see our son and grandkids. And her mother still lives there, and she has a sister there, and she has a sister that lives in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, it's not easy just to get back and see people. So that was a catalyst of us thinking of maybe, we should go back. But in the end, we just couldn't. So we're going to do vacations.
Yeah,
we'll go down and spend a couple of weeks.
Hopefully they'll come up and see us. And
we're going to build some guest cabins. That'll be in future episodes. We're going to do some guest cabins so that, family can come up and see us. And if nothing else, we'll just buy the plane tickets for our son and
make them come up and see me.
Yep. And somewhere there'll be some pictures of our son and daughter-in-law and our grandbabies.
Yep.
We'll put them in there. But I think that kind of really covers a quick thing on our background.
Yeah, I think so.
Alaska's home.
Yeah.
And the dogs are grounding each other. So anyway, I guess we can get to FAQ. I know a lot of people don't like these, but I think this will kind of just put to bed a lot of the questions that we've had.
Yeah.
And then we can just move forward with more building.
Yeah. So why Alaska? But I think we kind of covered most of that.
Well, initially adventure.
Yeah,
we just thought it would be an adventure. And then just a different way of life.
Yeah.
Slower pace and freedom.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
you can buy now this is not everywhere.
No, not everywhere.
But you can pretty much buy as long as you're not
most rural places, pretty much. I think all remote places.
As long as you're not in city limits, you can buy a chunk of property and you can build on it. There's no building codes. There's no permits. You just build you a structure, and that's also a double-edged sword because you can
everybody can do whatever they want.
But
and there are some shacks.
Yeah, but more power to them. Everybody should have the freedom to do as they please. As long as you're not hurting someone else, you should have the freedom to live the way you want to live.
Yep.
As long as you don't hurt anybody else or infringe on someone else's freedoms. But that's why Alaska. Now it's expensive.
Oh yeah.
There's a trade-off there. It's
building materials have been almost double to triple the price of what you see in the lower 48.
And that's what's really stalled us on our build is between the weather and building expenses. We're over what we thought we would be
and I even figured on the high side, but it wasn't high enough.
And we'll get to the numbers on that too. But it's in the end, it's kind of a trade-off. It's the privilege of living there tax.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's just it is what it is. But it's an amazing place. It's so free. You can just go and just breathe the air in. You don't have all the industry in Alaska, so it's just the air is so clean. And the water, I mean, people cringed at me drinking out of a fountain in the mountains. What's above it?
There's
nothing. Nothing. There's nothing above that. There's no house up there. There's no industry up there. It is just clean mountain stream water, and it was delicious. And I've drank it a lot, and I'm a little loopy, but maybe that's what it's from. But, and I've swam in the glacier lakes, super cold, but it's just the absolute freedom that you have there is the draw for Alaska. And the nature, the wildlife, the mountains, the water. It's just, you stand there, and any picture we put up or video...
It doesn't even begin to do it justice.
No.
It's a whole nother level in person, how beautiful it is. And it's every season. Summer's beautiful, winter's beautiful, except breakup.
You get a little bit of mud for a few weeks.
Yeah, spring can, the very beginning of spring is kind of, everything's dead and muddy.
Yeah.
But
you never even get to a point where we'll be working, you stop and you look around and it's still breathtaking even after, we've been there for, and it's not going to be there long, but, this will be coming up on the 6th year, I guess.
Those are 7th winter.
7th winter, 6th year. But it's just an amazing place. I mean, it should be on everyone's bucket list. Everyone should see it at least once, and it just gets a hold of you.
Yep.
So next question.
Next one here we've got, how did you find your land? Again, I think we
pretty much covered that. Zillow.
Touched on that, yeah, Zillow.
Well, she looked a lot. All over.
It was a good solid...
Well,
we had actually already been looking before we sold our place in Sterling because we thought we would
get property bought before we left.
We were wanting to kind of do a summer thing, go back and forth because we knew we weren't done with Alaska, but prices, you guys know, prices went crazy since COVID. It's just
a hard thing. There's just some cheap land, but it's very remote.
Yeah, that's why you really can't buy sight unseen.
It's hard, very hard.
Like I said, we did it. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. We lucked out.
Because it was still rolling dice. Because even though we were
got
somewhat
topography
familiar,
maps and we were already familiar with the area. We had never seen the property, but we were familiar with the area.
A gamble.
It was a big gamble. We lucked out though.
And there was a lot more trash left on it than the ad had initially said.
Yeah, it said all the trash had been picked up, all the dead stumps had been removed, which wasn't the case.
There had been a cabin that had burnt down a long time ago. And unfortunately we didn't, because we weren't videoing it. We didn't video a lot early on. I wish we had, because we would have had a lot more footage, but we cleaned up a lot of stuff. We had, it was a mass amount of scrap we ended up selling, and just old tires, and just spent a lot of time just cleaning up everything that was left behind. They did leave us a bathtub. Well, I think we're going to get some ducks.
I showed it to them on one of the episodes. Yeah, we're going to
get some ducks. I think we'll have a little duck pond in the future. But I think that's it for that.
Yeah, I think so. So Zillow.
Zillow's a good place to look.
Easements, right-of-ways, permitting. Yeah, I mean, that's
same
just...
thing. I mean, there are some places that have easements for getting to your land, because some land is
and ours does have an easement on it for the state.
Yeah, for the state.
At the front of our property, it used to be the old
It was part of the old Sterling Highway from way back.
But that was, I think... In the 50s they did away with it. They moved it.
They straightened it out more, so our section
But it does still have a state right of way.
Yeah, even though they don't do anything with it, it's all overgrown. But technically they do.
Yeah.
But that's not really on our property. It's just at the front of it.
So it's just, it's something you're going to have to look at.
Yeah.
Each individual plot, lot of land is it depends what borough you're in, what the permitting is. Yeah. If you're close to streams, if it could be something that affects the salmon spawning, you're going to have to get some special permitting for that. But the best bet is just to go to your borough that you're looking in. They don't have counties up there, so they're all boroughs. Go to the borough website, go to the planning commission, and talk to them directly. Because
make sure you get it straight, because you can end with a land that you can't do anything with, and that would really suck.
Well, and even on top of what the borough, if there's no permitting in the borough, you still have covenants that can be set on the land itself from the previous owner. So do your research.
Do your research.
Is really what it comes down to, because every single piece of land is going to be different.
And then also on that is, everybody always asks us when we talk to anybody, especially when we were in Ohio for those few months, did you stake your claim and get your free land? That ended in the 80s, somewhere 86 or something like that. You can't. There's no more free land in Alaska. Unfortunately, we missed that.
The closest thing they do a lottery, the state does, for residents. You have to be a resident, and then they auction it off for whatever the assessed value is. But it's not free.
But it's cheaper. And like I said, you can still buy a lot of land if you go into the bush area. Or more north, you can get big chunks of land for cheap.
200 acres.
But you're either hauling it in by four-wheeler, snow machine, or airplane, or maybe helicopter dropping it. That gets really expensive really quick.
Yeah.
And then you're not, you also got to consider your health. If you're younger and you have health problems, it's a different thing, versus if you're older and you have some health concerns, you need to be close enough to services.
Yeah.
So if you get, and that's
even that, you're still pretty limited. We're down by Homer. I work at the Homer Hospital, and there's still a lot of stuff that gets shipped to Anchorage, and then even from there, Anchorage ships a lot of people to Seattle.
Yeah, so it's all things to consider.
Very limited on healthcare.
Yeah, it's just what it is, and that's how we make our money too. Is she's a nurse.
Yeah.
I used to do construction, house painting, commercial and residential, and that's what I did for a living for a long time, and now I'm kind of a house husband. She works
But he saves
312s.
so much money doing everything on ourselves. Yeah. I mean, we don't hire anybody for anything.
We live pretty frugal. We're not real extravagant. Sometimes we'll go out to eat once, a week or once every couple of weeks or something. There's a really good place I'm going to plug you. Roscoe's in Ninilchik. You guys are freaking awesome. The food's awesome. Their poutine and their cheesecake.
Best cheesecake in the entire world.
So if you ever find yourself in Ninilchik, Alaska, go to Roscoe's. It's right off the Sterling Highway.
Yep.
Get some cheesecake. Stop when they have the poutine. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I could go for some right now. Maybe they'll have some tomorrow.
How far are you from the ocean? We said that
well, it's not even a mile. It's right across the Sterling Highway.
It's probably about a quarter of a mile by way the crow flies, and then it's a mile.
Taking the side by
side down to the beach. So it's plenty close enough to take the dogs around the beach. Just go down and clear.
Yeah, and that kind of.
It's so relaxing for me.
And that was also because some people, have some of our relatives. Oh, you pay too much for your land, and it's on the higher side. But that area of Alaska is more expensive, and then for her wanting to be near the beach, it's really difficult to find.
Yeah, we don't have a oceanfront budget, but we do have a mile from the beach budget.
But that's also a thing to touch on too, on oceanfront property there.
Ooh, yes.
Give them some scoop on bluff property.
Bluff property, you probably want to avoid it.
Beautiful.
It's not unusual to lose 10 feet per year.
Yeah,
it just caves off, and then next thing you know, you
really
have nothing. There's so many of them that are right along the edge. They're either abandoned or people are trying to move them back.
We looked at a few that were tempting. If you can get one that's got a lot of growth on it, trees and stuff, some of those aren't eroding near as bad, but the ones that are just straight dirt are losing a lot. And we talked to a couple. We went and looked at. They ended up. He lost his garage to it.
Yep.
And he ended up having to pay it, have his house moved. He paid $40,000 to have his house moved, and now it's in jeopardy again. So they ended up building another house because it was going to be cheaper just to him build another house than to try to move that one. So they're going to lose that house.
Yeah.
And you'll find bluff property cheap because of that. So watch that.
So watch bluff property and watch
on the peninsula.
Marshy, boggy area property.
Okay, next thing.
Did you choose the Kenai Peninsula because the weather is milder?
Not initially. No,
right? I would say ultimately we chose the Kenai Peninsula because of work.
Well, she was offered. That plays into the first thing about your dad passing away. She had an offer to go do travel nursing in Fairbanks, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then your dad got bad, and we turned that one down and waited. It was a few months, 3 or so months maybe later.
Something like that, yeah.
And then the opportunity came up in Homer.
Yeah, so work is what prompted us, but the weather down in the peninsula is excellent. It's very similar really to Ohio. I mean, it doesn't get any colder.
20s, 30s. You'll get teens and single digits and some below zero.
But it doesn't last.
That's not the average.
It doesn't last.
Like in Sterling, we would hit, it wasn't uncommon to see negative 25, and it was a bit colder, a lot more snow up there. And we still get a reasonable amount of snow down there too, so.
Yeah, but.
It's mild. It's a much milder.
Compared to the rest of Alaska, it's extremely mild. And I definitely like that.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for 40 below zero and 6 feet of snow.
And a lot of darkness.
Yeah. Yeah, because
down there, I mean, it gets dark in the winter. And you get a lot of sunlight, but it's not like going up really North Alaska where it's all daylight in the winter or the summer and then all dark in the winter, which is not even really that either. That's kind of juiced up, in movies and things. It'll look kind of like dusk for part of the day. It's not pitch black except for like Barrow, where it goes pretty dark for a month or something.
You don't want to say Utqiagvik?
Utqiagvik.
It's not Barrow anymore. They changed it. It's not
Barrow.
How much did it cost? I guess we already answered all of these questions.
The $50,000 for our property, and it already had the driveway building
pad. It also includes mineral rights.
Yeah,
which was kind of a big thing. Most places in Alaska do not have their mineral rights, but our property did. So that
was a big bonus.
Yeah, huge bonus. We are very happy with that.
Price as far too as on our build, we figured we're all in for what we've done is about $12,000 on our house build. So that's to the point where you've seen it with it just has house wrap on the outside. We're still short 2 windows. We got the roof on, the metal's all on it. But no, I've not ran electric yet or anything. It's a slow process, but we're at about $12,000, which is not bad.
No, not at all.
That's not bad, but that's where we're at, because we've done everything ourselves. This is all.
And just
all
to recap,
ourselves.
it's a 20 by 24, so 480 square feet for $12,000 so far.
It can be done. I didn't have a whole lot of experience, and I don't know if that's a question in there too, but
it is.
Okay, we'll get to that then.
Yeah, we'll wait. How did you prepare for your move?
Well, initially we did not. It was such a rush thing the first time, so we're going to go step back in time to 2017, October 2017. Her dad had passed away. It had been 2 months, I think.
No, it was in July.
I was in July, so it had been a few months. We had been kind of pushing back and forth on whether to do it. And we had a really great house we were renting. We loved our landlord, Deborah Miller.
Oh, yes.
She was great. And she hated to see us go. We hated to go.
We hated it, yeah. Well, we did, yeah. I wish we could have just kept that.
And I think she watches, so hi, Deb.
Hi,
Deb. But anyhow, it was kind of rushed. We literally threw some stuff in. We had a little Honda CRV. What we could fit in that with our one dog, Tess.
Yeah, we only had Tess at the time, and our son, Chris, went with us.
We had a topper on it. The rest of the stuff, her mom came over with their horse trailer, filled it up with the rest of our stuff, and it ended up in storage for the 5 years. And that was it. We got on the road.
Yeah.
So we just,
loaded up,
there wasn't much.
Took off.
Yeah, we rolled into town, and that's another thing, tell them that.
Oh, that didn't work out great. We thought we had a rental house lined up, and a job lined up, which the rental house was fine. It worked out. But the job, the HR person who had hired me, in the meantime, had quit.
Nice.
So when I got up there, no one had any idea that
no job.
I was already supposed to have a job. So that took 2 months to get figured out.
We had no job.
That was rough.
We weren't prepared. You should always go with enough money, and we didn't.
Well, we thought we had enough.
We were kind of going on.
We would have if we'd had the job right off the bat.
It was a shoestring budget. We didn't have a lot of money once we got there. So it was kind of really straining our budget. And I ended up finding a job at it was a new indoor little sports complex that they had just built. So I kind of did that, for a few years while we lived there, and that kind of helped supplement our income until we really got established. And then that job kind of stopped when COVID hit. They shut down.
Love
High
COVID.
Spark, guys.
What you film with? I
what are we filming with? Yeah. We have an old GoPro 8 that is barely working. The back of the display doesn't even work anymore. We're gonna have to invest money. We weren't spending any money. We have the old GoPro Hero 8.
Yep. Old iPhone 11.
Excuse me. I've got some kind of thing going on. Old iPhone 11s. We do some footage on them. We did some footage earlier on. It was terrible. So we try to use the GoPro, and then we edit everything on it's called InShot. It's just a free program, and we use our iPad. So it's very low budget, and it comes across that way.
More like no budget. We literally have spent nothing on it at all.
This is low budget, no budget.
But
we're gonna try to get some mics, and we need to get a new GoPro, and we're gonna try to make this a little bit better for you guys, so you can actually hear us talk, and it's not so amateurish, even though that's what we are.
Kind of right now, all the money goes into the house. We don't make any money we'll touch on that later.
But that's pretty much that's what we use to record with. So nothing great.
Formatting footage issues. I guess you kind of
the people complain about that was on the earlier videos. We didn't know it was like a 16:9 aspect ratio or something.
We never done editing before.
No, I had no
idea about
I couldn't figure out why everything was small and blurry and looked like crap. Well, it's because we used the iPhones. I didn't know how to adjust it. When I did, it made the footage really blurry because our GoPro battery had died when we first got there. So some of our footage just wasn't good. So I apologize for that. But like I said, this was not really initially. It was filming us to send to our son and some of our family members and friends and stuff. And then we was like, I want to stick it on YouTube and just see if anybody's interested. And then we got, a reasonable amount of interest. You guys are freaking awesome.
Yeah.
We're at 2,280 some subscribers. You guys are, it's awesome. We really appreciate the support and all the comments. We did get monetized. Somebody asked about that.
Yep. Okay, so let's just hop right into that because that was another one of the questions. Do you have any day jobs in addition to the channel? Do you make a lot of money with YouTube? I work full-time as a nurse, so I do have a day job. Craig does everything around the house completely, so we don't ever spend money on outside stuff. So that's kind of his job right now, is just to keep everything at home.
We go and we get wood off of state land and stuff, so it's free stuff. So you spend your summers in Alaska prepping for the winter.
Yeah, pretty much. So
we're busy. When you go to bed at night, we'll work clear up till midnight because it's light. Yeah. You drop. I mean, because you're trying to prep and get things ready, for the winter.
Yeah, but no, we do not make any money off YouTube. We are monetized, but there are so many hoops to jump through.
We've yet to see any money off of that. I don't, and we didn't do this to me. I mean, that would be a nice bonus.
Well, it would be nice because then we could use it to upgrade.
Well, yeah, we could. If we get enough money, we could upgrade our GoPro or something like that. So that, it's not taking any of our money for our house. It would just be YouTube,
right, paying for itself essentially. So no, we do not make any YouTube money, and I work full time. Do you know any other Alaska YouTubers?
Not friends, but we do know North to Alaska. They actually bought Chris and Katie. Yeah, we bought, or not we bought. The property we bought had a boat on it, and you've probably seen that in an earlier episode.
Well, he'll throw a picture in right now.
Yeah, I'll throw a picture in there somewhere. Well, we put it for sale. I decided it was beyond my ability and
we just didn't have time for that. We needed to get the house done.
So we ended up putting it for sale, and turned out they bought it. We didn't know they had a YouTube channel. They come over, really nice folks. We talked to them. I think they were from Pennsylvania. I think
so.
We tried and talked to him a little bit, and he said he had done some mechanical work, or was a mechanic, I think. And so he said it shouldn't be a problem for him to get it going. So they bought it, and we was able to use that to buy the OSB for our roof.
Yep.
So then we found out later on, I can't remember how, but we found out later on that
Katie put a reply on our YouTube, one of our videos. Okay. That's what it was.
But yeah, so we don't really know them as in friends or anything, but we have met them, and they seem like really nice people, and their channel's freaking going awesome. So
yeah, good job, guys. Katie and Chris. I think that's. I mean, we've talked online to Mitchell's in Alaska.
Yeah, and
Alaska Last Frontier Homestead, and then Matt, AK.
There was some other person too. I can't. Sorry, guys. We should have that on there. I can't think of what his name was.
I don't know which one you're talking about.
I don't know. It's that woman. There's a woman. They just got into town. They're in Anchor Point. But I can't think of their thing. Sorry, guys. I can't remember. I'm having like a brain cloud right now. I've had some sinus issues, and it's kind of got me all fogged up.
But everyone we talked to, any of the Alaska YouTubers have all been really great. Yeah. The number one question, what happened to Chris?
All right. Chris was, because we were here before, Chris was going to school and had a girlfriend that he had to leave behind. And it's funny, on a side note, Chris hated Alaska when we first moved. He was 12 years old when we first moved to Alaska. Hated it. Couldn't wait to leave. And I told him, we always joke with him, and what I tell him?
He would find a local and not want to leave.
Yeah, and I said, you'll be stuck here forever. And he swore up and down, I'm never getting married. I know I'm leaving. So he finds this girl, and the rest of that story. So they're talking back and forth in Ohio, and the teen love thing. So he couldn't wait to get back to Alaska then. I ribbed him on that one. I said, who wants to go to Alaska now? So anyhow, the first thing he even does is we're driving down. He couldn't even go straight to the property.
Nope, he had to stop and see her.
Well, he picked her up from school.
Oh, that's right.
He waited in town.
She's a sweetie, though.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
Alora. So they're pretty serious. So Chris had turned 18 once we had got back.
Yeah, we got back in April. He turned 18 in June. And 2 weeks later, left.
He flew the coop, man. He went up there and made some arrangement with her parents to stay in their spare bedroom, so that he wanted to go to school. Excuse me.
At his old school where he went before.
And finish up his senior year with her.
Yeah.
So he's staying with her family, going to school up there, and working. And then they're both heading off to the military.
They're trying to decide.
A combat vet, or not combat vet. Jesus, he'll maybe a combat vet at some point, but a combat medic. Told you I got a fog.
Yeah.
He wants to be a combat medic, and I think she's doing the same thing.
Yeah, I something. Yeah. So he's doing great. Girlfriend's doing good.
Yep. We just don't see a lot of him. He's pretty busy, and he helped us build up to a certain point. I think he stopped just short of us putting the purlins on the roof, so he helped with some of the rafters. And then that was pretty much it for that. Yeah, it was just me and her after that.
Yeah, he comes down and visits, but he doesn't like to be on TV, so.
Yeah, he hated being filmed anyway, so.
So that's with Chris. He's doing good.
Yep. So is there anything else?
Oh, yes, there is. Why do you have so many dogs?
We get that one a lot.
What are their names?
People seem to be very upset that we have so many dogs. Okay, take it away.
Tess, we got right before she was 7 months old when we moved up to Alaska in 2017. I had sold my horse because it's too expensive to have horses up here, and it was too expensive to get them up here.
And she grew up with them.
Yeah. But so Tess was my
consolation
prize. I'd always wanted a German Shepherd, and
she's the short, fat one.
Yeah, the short, fat one.
Thick one, I should say.
Yeah, so she'll be 7 in January. Kaiser will be 4 in December. He's the black one. They ended up having puppies, and Hans, the big giant one, is going to be 3. Actually, next week, the 30th. He'll be 3 on the 30th. It's Hans'
birthday. He's my favorite.
So that's how we ended up with those 3. We got the 2, and then they had another one, and then we got...
And then we have a sickness.
Yeah.
We were in Ohio, and we drove by a house that said German Shepherd puppies. I'm like, we should stop and look at puppies.
Look at puppies.
And we should not have. We should have just drove past the sign. Because you know how it goes when you stop and look at puppies.
No, you don't just look at a puppy. You're going to buy it. So we ended up with Gidget.
Yeah, so now we have 4 German Shepherds.
But,
it's like they're our family. I mean, it's... People always like, why would you want so many dogs? Why not? Yeah. You know, they make us laugh so much. We get so much enjoyment from them.
Yeah.
They're big goofball, especially Hans. He's like a cartoon character dog. He's my shadow. Everywhere I go, he's just right there. And they all have their personalities. And if you're a dog person, Yeah. They all have their little things, and they just it's our life. It's just who we are.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna get rid of any dogs.
No,
they're just here until their time is up.
Oh. Let's see. How are your dogs liking the move to Alaska? Well, they love Alaska. Yeah. Absolutely love it. They hate it down lower 40.
Too hot for Kaiser.
Yeah, it's
he
too
loves
hot
the
for him.
snow.
Well, he was born... Tess is the only one that's not from... Well, no, Gidget's not.
Yeah,
she was from Ohio.
Gidget and Tess are both from Ohio.
Yeah. But Kaiser was born in Alaska, and Hans was born in Alaska, so they are 100%
they love
snow dogs. They just love it.
Well, there's so much room to roam and play and explore. It's a great place for dogs. And we take them hiking, and they love it.
Hiking, kayaking. I mean, are you going to get chickens and start a garden? Well,
yes.
That's the plan.
Yes.
I'm still trying to decide chickens or ducks or maybe both.
Probably both, I think.
You think so?
And that's one we're going to. This next spring we're going to start. We just didn't have time. I wanted to start getting something prepped for a garden, but there just wasn't time. We got to build a fence, and we've done a garden in Ohio before, but I've not done a garden in Alaska. We just never had really time.
No.
Because we was always so busy with both of us working, but now that I don't, we're going to take time and do us up a really nice garden. So I've got a lot of research to do because it's different in Alaska. But yeah, chickens, ducks, probably nothing else. I don't want a lot of animals to take care of.
Well, large livestock, it requires hay.
It's too much for us.
Expensive.
But yeah, definitely a garden. Yeah. We want to be able to be a little more self-sufficient. And then that goes in the same vein with hunting and fishing. I'm embarrassed to say that we've been in Alaska for 6 years and have never been fishing. I'll be honest with you, I don't know really how to fish. I used to fish with my grandpa.
There's so many regulations.
Yeah, it's like if you're 5 feet from the bridge and your name starts with an A, then you can only fish with this, and it's just...
Maybe not that, but it is seriously, it's one side of the bridge can be one rule, and the other side can be another rule.
And I get confused. I spent years buying up tons of fishing gear at yard sales and dip nets and all that stuff, and then I would psych myself out and then not go because I'm like, I feel like an idiot because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, because everyone up there knows what they're doing, and then you walk in, you don't know what you're doing, and it's
I'll be snagging people and myself, and
yeah.
So we do want to fish, we do want to dip net, we want to do all those things.
Well, we got to get our solar and our electric figured out first because we have nowhere to keep anything right now.
And eventually some hunting. We want to do some hunting too, and it'd be great to get a moose and fill the freezer with a moose.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have hardly any experience hunting. I did a little bit of squirrel hunting and stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah, we're not opposed to any of it.
No,
it's not something we grew up with.
Not a whole lot. My dad hunted when I was a little kid, and he kind of stopped as I hit my teen years, so I really didn't grow up with that. So I don't really have any knowledge in it, because people would ask, are you going to go hunt, get a moose? I'd love to. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it's one of them things where I don't know where to go. We might just
start out small. This year we'll do ducks and chickens and garden and maybe fishing.
Just work our way up.
Maybe next year we'll try some grouse and work our way up to a moose, hopefully.
Yeah, something like that. Take your time.
Yeah. Okay, so here's that question you talked about. How do you know how to do this stuff?
I really don't. Like I said, I did some construction. My dad is amazing. He can literally... It's all in his head. He was a contractor his whole life. He built houses. He don't even really have to make a plan. He can just build this out of his mind. And that's kind of what we did with this. We didn't really have much of a plan.
We just jotted some ideas down.
I'd worked with my dad. did pole barns, and some of you are probably familiar with those are. It's just barns. You put poles in the ground, you build them. So I had a little bit of experience with that. I had literally framed a wall one time with my brother. He was working painting in a commercial building, and we had to frame a wall. I wished now I had paid way more attention. I hated construction, so I hated every minute of being there. I was a teenager when I started doing it with my dad, and I hated it. I didn't want to do it, so I didn't pay enough attention. So I had basic knowledge. So what we did, once we got to Alaska, we just looked up on YouTube. I'm telling you. I found a guy, Matt Bangs Wood, is a YouTube channel, and he's out in California. He's a professional framer, and he's really good at explaining how to frame things. She actually found his channel.
Yep.
And so we just watched his videos and learned how to frame the walls with that, windows and doors.
California corners and headers and
all that stuff. We looked up things on how to do foundations. I had a basic understanding of that 3-4-5 method, which I showed in the video for our woodshed. But it's still hard. I mean, it took us a lot to get it. We're not perfectly square. I'm going to be first to admit the house isn't completely square. It's we got it really close, but when we started running our roof, we was running off by like an inch and something on the one side. We can live with that. You know, we're not professionals. You know, we don't do this for a living, and it's close enough. But I don't even understand how. But they say if it's a little mistake at the bottom, by the time you get to the top, it's really running off. So if we're like an inch, or I think it was an inch and a quarter, maybe it was, it's not too bad for what little experience. But YouTube there's so many things on there. There's channels. I found a guy for plumbing.
Single aspect of it.
Yeah, for electrical. So when we get to that, I'll be, using those guys and channels to help me do all that. But there's so much knowledge out there now. We grew up without, we didn't have very little money as I grew up. We were really poor. We didn't have a computer. My friend had a computer, and that was like, this foreign thing. But there's so much knowledge out there nowadays. It's so easy to find information that you need. So we didn't really know. We just
jumped in.
It. Yeah. And that's what we did.
Well, we needed a house, and we don't have enough money to pay someone to build one. So that's what you do.
We just had to do it. So we tried to go with the most simplified design, which was the skillion roof, the sloped, roof. And we struggled. It's not, we didn't film enough to show. We had some hardships. We were in that cargo trailer for...
Oh, the cargo trailer.
For how long?
Well, from April when we got there until June, the end of June.
The end of June. And it was cold.
Which, I mean, that's still really fast for building a house from scratch.
Yeah.
But
it was pretty miserable.
Him and Chris did most of it while I was at work.
Yeah, she was working. But it was miserable. It was cold.
Cold, wet. It just rained. Wet. You guys know it rained and rained and rained. But...
It was not good times, and a lot of times it was just like we knew we should probably film some stuff, but it's just like we just wanted to get it done, and we were so miserable it was going to come across. Some of the footage I just scrapped because it was coming across on the footage that our moods weren't great, and we would get at each other, and argue, and we're never mean, but it's just you get very frustrated, and money runs low, and people never talk about that, but you're starting to run low on money, and things are costing too much, and you're you can't take a shower. When you get really freaking dirty, that's not fun. It starts to play on your I don't know, you feel less human or something. So we did go into Anchor Point sometimes and just get a shower at the little local laundromat that they had. But,
which is nice. I mean, the laundromats up here, there's so many people that don't have water up here that the laundromats all have showers in them. So that is a nice option that we
But it was a lot of hardships.
It gets expensive. You can't do that every day.
No. But it was a lot of hardships to get to where we are now, and it's, that's something people should take into consideration. If you don't have a huge budget, it's doable.
Oh yeah.
It's don't let people tell you can't do it because you're not rich. Don't believe that. If you're determined enough and you have be reasonable too. Be reasonable with what money you have. Do some research, because you can get online at like Home Depot, whatever, and you can look in those areas and see what material costs, and you can get a rough idea.
Yeah, because you at least need to
have
it
square footage wise.
Closed in. You at least need to be able to dry it in.
Yeah, be dried in. But you can do it. Don't tell yourself or let people tell you that you can't do it, because you can do it. You don't have to be rich to do this. If this is your dream, man, you have one life to live. Go freaking do it.
Yeah.
Don't have regrets, man. Just go out there and live your life.
When we first moved up to Alaska, everyone was like, why do you want to do this?
Lots of family.
You're crazy. Why would you want to go? I said, what are you gonna do if it doesn't work out? That was I said the road goes both ways. Just turn around and come home.
Go home.
Not a big deal.
It's not the end of the world, man. If you don't try, people are always afraid of what will happen. What can happen? Well, nothing will ever happen. Nothing will ever happen if you don't try.
Nothing's going to happen.
You're going to forget to live. Live your life.
Yep.
There's the world is so big and there's so many things, and not necessarily just Alaska, but there's so much to see and do. And don't limit yourself. Go out there with whatever's within your means. Go do it. Live your life.
Yep. Why didn't you build bigger?
Well, money is also a factor.
Yeah.
We knew Chris, he made it pretty clear.
Yeah, he was pretty clear that he was going to be leaving, so we knew we didn't need anything huge. But we did want a 2-bedroom, that way in case somebody did come up and visit, we would have somewhere to put them. He plays a lot of guitar, so he wanted a room where he could just close the door and do some recording and have his own space. I do wish, hindsight, we had gone maybe 2 feet wider just so we'd have a little bit more room in the living room. Because after we got the wood burning stove in, there's not a lot of space between the couch and the wood burner. So I do kind of wish we would have done that, like maybe even a 24 by 30 maybe would be okay. But let's see, what else do we have here? Other forms of heat. So we have the wood burner. We would like to do maybe like a monitor, like a Toyo stove, so that we could have, I was telling them, other types of heat. So that we have something for if we do go away for the weekend. Because to go up to Anchorage, it would be nice to be able to make it an overnight trip because it's so far.
Yeah.
Once you get up there, if you go to Costco, that's your whole day. You drove, you go to Costco, you drive home. That's all really you have time to do. So it'd be nice to have
just a backup heat source.
So it'd be nice to have a backup heat source for if you go away for the weekend or whatever.
But, beyond that, is there anything else?
The wood burner works great. Are you going to put anything on the outside of the house to finish it?
Metal. It'll be metal on the outside. We haven't decided yet. And there'll be a porch roof, and then a decking all the way around it too. And that stuff we'll get to in the future.
Yeah. Are you in the area of Nikiski?
No, that's about
Alaska-wise, yes.
2 hours and 45 minutes north, maybe.
It's on the Kenai Peninsula.
It's on the peninsula too, so
it's
just north of us.
The Kenai yet, so it's about 2.5 hours away or so. Did you have a YouTube channel before moving to Alaska? I think that's painfully obvious if you watch the first couple episodes. You'll know that we did not.
Cool it, guys.
What did you do before moving to Alaska?
Painted. She did the same thing, nursing.
Yeah.
So that's basically the same exact thing.
Having experienced Alaska so far, if you could go back to before you moved to Alaska, would you still make the move?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's
best decision we ever made.
Yep, absolutely. Well, really that's kind of witnessed in the fact that we left in October and decided by December we couldn't stand it down in the lower 48. So yes, we would. Yeah, Alaska is home for sure. Where all have you lived?
Ohio,
Florida,
and Alaska. As a kid, I lived in Arizona and South Carolina. Also, as a child, I moved around. My dad moved around with the seasons for work. He was a contractor, so we would jump from place to place.
Right, and we've done some. We spent extended time in Arizona and Texas for work,
for travel nursing and stuff.
But
we've been all over the U.S. We've hit all but I think.
We're up to 35 states now,
that we haven't hit. Eventually, we're gonna hit them all.
Our goal is all 50. So we're working on it. What has been your most challenging experience living in Alaska? And I would definitely say family being so far
that's
away.
The thing. It's the family thing. That's a big thing. So take that into consideration. You're going to miss weddings, funerals, births, deaths, or it's just, I guess it falls in the funerals. Those are things you're going to miss. Just family holidays. We have no family at all besides Chris in Alaska. So think about those things because it's not just a real quick trip to go see anyone. So that's probably the biggest challenge beyond just the cost of living. And there are some struggles during winter. It's getting firewood and stuff. It's a lot of work.
You have to have it already ready to go.
Because it's really hard to go out in the winter and get firewood. And we've had to do it before. So I'm trying to be more prepared this year, which I'm not going to be. But
the house we had to,
But there's just
ideally, we would like to have at least 2 seasons of wood ready to go.
And we usually burn about 7 or 8 cord a year. So
8
we're kind of conservative with it.
Did the dream you had in your mind about Alaska match the realities you've experienced so far? How bad were your beer goggles?
Oh, yes and no, because you kind of, what's the word? You kind of build things up in your mind, kind of like Clark Griswold on National Lampoons. I do it really bad. I'm bad about that. I build things up in my mind, how it should be. It was different. I wouldn't say I was disappointed. It was just different as far as expenses. We knew it was more expensive, but some of the prices were shocking.
When we went to the grocery store for the first time in Homer, it was
because it was like it's a lot more expensive in Homer than it is in like Soldotna or Kenai.
Yeah.
The expenses, that was a little shocking, and just the way of life. Everything moves slower. People they're not in a hurry.
Well, it is a legitimate excuse to be late for work that there is a moose in your driveway.
Yeah, you can't get out. Moose are vicious. They'll kill more people than bears every year.
And sharks.
They have no fear.
Yeah. But yeah, we did a lot of research before moving up there, so I think we kind of had a pretty good idea of what we were getting ourselves into. Then.
Well, the GoPro battery died, so we missed the very last question. So what was the last question?
From one of our Facebook viewers, they wanted to know, did it hurt when you fell from heaven?
No, I floated down like a feather. That was actually from my buddy back in Ohio, Andy. So, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in upcoming episodes. We're doing some more building, and we appreciate you guys watching us.
Yeah.
Thanks.